Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's story, OP found out his girlfriend cheated on him after he installed a GPS tracker. He then drove to the affair partner's house to confront them, but instead had an interesting surprise. He encountered the affair partner's father, who told him that he caught his son and OP's wife doing absolutely shocking things when he was home. Now, they're both planning on getting revenge and destroying the life of OP's wife. In today's second story, OP's wife was using her open marriage as a smokescreen for cheating. OP needs advice on how to proceed. Now, let's get into today's stories. My girlfriend and I have been together for 11 years and have one beautiful child who is 7 years old. She has another child who is 15 from a previous relationship. We met when I was 18, and I took on the responsibility of helping to bring up my stepdaughter as my own. Our relationship, like most, has gone through its ups and downs. I was young and had never been in a long-term relationship. I made mistakes. She made many more. However, the last 5 years, I have been an honest, faithful, and loving boyfriend. 2 years ago, I decided to be as selfless and loving as I could be to everyone around me. At the beginning of the year, I had some things happen in my life that left me in a really dark place. I was severely depressed. In the beginning, she was there for me, and she was perfect. She made me a calendar to remind me every day of how she felt for me, and she bought me a couple of heartfelt things that helped me through the hardest times. I haven't been myself for 10 months, and I have admittedly withdrawn, but it was in the darkest moments that I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this girl, and I started to plan my proposal. My girlfriend was furloughed for most of the lockdown, but eventually found a new job where she seemed so much happier. At the start of October, I found that my girlfriend was pulling away. She no longer said she loved me. She no longer hugged me or kissed me, and I started to have suspicions. I worked on myself and our relationship. She would hide her phone when I was around or would quickly exit WhatsApp. However, at the end of October, she started going to the gym. One night, her class wasn't for hours after she'd finished work. Her explanation was that she would wait outside until the class started. It didn't make sense to me. I called her after work and she sounded like she was in the car, but her response was that she was working late at work and trying to get things finished up before heading to the gym. I turned on Find My iPhone to discover she wasn't where she said she was. She was outside another man's house. I confronted her about this and she lied, saying she was at work, and then switched to saying she was picking up a quick tea before class until I eventually revealed that I knew exactly where she was because of the tracker. She blew up, saying that I had invaded her privacy and that I was some freak for tracking her every move, and then eventually she came out with the truth that yes, indeed, she was there to meet another man. She had been having an affair with a man at her new job. I asked her to come home to talk about it, but she refused and instead turned her phone off. She had invited him into her car after our conversation, and they drove together to a local park and spent hours together. I went around to his house only to find that they were not there. His father opened the door, and when I explained the situation, his only response was, "Sounds about right. He does this." She drove to her mom's afterward, still texting him with kisses and apologizing that I went around to his house with emojis included. Eventually, we spoke and she showed me what little text she had not had a chance to delete yet. He was laughing at the fact that I had almost found out about their affair a couple of days prior when she thought I was going through her phone. I had not had a chance to do that yet. I contacted him and told him how he was hurting a 7-year-old girl, and he laughed at that and could only say, "I am doing nothing wrong. I am a one-man band." We eventually agreed that she would block him on everything and discussed her leaving her new job to try and work on us. She opened up about other issues we were having, and one of those was money. She would never be open with me about what kind of position she was in money-wise. She had finally been honest and told me that she was $400 overdrawn, and another $300 was due to come out. I was a sucker, and I fell for the fact that she was finally being honest with me and transferred her the $700. A short while later, she blocked me on all outlets and unblocked him. I had asked her to get therapy. She said she couldn't afford it. She used the $700 to book a hotel room that cost the same amount as therapy with the man she had an affair with. She said that the last 11 years had been so unhappy for her and that I didn't love her enough or show her enough affection. This isn't true. I'm an affectionate person by nature and showed her love constantly. I have had 10 really dark months, but I was just starting to feel better about myself. She called me a narcissist, a dick, a prick. There were conversations full of screw yous. She refused 50-50 custody. However, I had my daughter 5 out of 7 nights last week because she wanted to go see this man instead. I've left every conversation feeling like things were my fault, that I was worthless, and that I should have done more this past year. She refused to sit down with the children to explain what was happening. It needed to be done with her so that she could console her children and not feel like she had abandoned them. However, because I've had my child almost every night, that's impossible. It's not fair on her. She asked questions like, "What is cheating?" I've wondered, why should I have to feel like I've abandoned her? Why should we do it on her terms? I didn't make these choices. She did. To top it all off, I found out yesterday that the man she has chosen has a problem with drugs to the point that he's not allowed to see his current children, and recently dumped his ex because he got her pregnant and she wouldn't abort their baby. Sorry if this is a lot or all over the place. My head is a mess at the moment. There's a lot more, but I think this is long enough. Does anyone have any advice? OP, here are my thoughts on the situation. You need to go for full custody and get a restraining order against your ex. She sounds abusive and is risking the health of your daughter by being with this guy. Document everything she does and see a lawyer. Let's see what the comments had to say. Forest Fire 23 said, "You started dating a young single mom with a young kid at the age of 18? Your relationship was doomed from the jump. She was probably cool at first because the kids were so young, but once they get to the age of 10 to 14 where they don't really rely on mommy for everything and start doing things on their own, she will feel liberated of her motherly role and start chasing the life she missed out on." I know that doesn't seem very supportive, but it is in a tough love way to help you realize that she is lost and never coming back. Well, she might try to physically come back, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, she checked out. Try to focus on yourself and your purpose and stay positive. I wish you the best of luck and stay strong, King, for your kids' sake. I agree with you, Forest Fire. Hopefully, OP is able to take charge of his life after this. Now, let's get into today's second story. My wife and I were high school sweethearts. We went to college and professional school together, and we're completing the final stages of our postgraduate training together. We have been married for 8 years and have been together for 15 years. I completed the final training stage earlier than her and am moving to a phase of my career where I signed a big contract, and in a couple of months, my salary, currently $50K-ish, will instantly increase 5 to 6 times and afford us a type of lifestyle neither of us has ever experienced. She has 2 years until something similar will happen to her. She and I were unbelievably close to experiencing the rewards of all our years of supporting each other and delayed gratification. I negotiated my contract to last until she finishes her training, and she and I would then get to decide for the first time where we wanted to go and live our dream life on our own terms. About a month ago, she approached me and told me she was experiencing a confusing physical attraction to a female coworker and close friend of hers. She has historically never been attracted to other women. She felt strongly enough about these feelings to bring it up to me, and I believed it took a lot of courage to admit it to herself and to talk to me about it as well, especially given her extremely religious, conservative upbringing. We have talked in theory about polyamorous relationships, and although we had always been monogamous, she knew I had a firm belief that humans could have feelings for more than one person at once, without those feelings being less valuable or less legitimate. She requested a conditional open marriage to explore these new developments in her sexuality. She spoke to her friend who reciprocated the attraction. We discussed ground rules that we could all agree on to allow them to explore things in a way that was clearly designed to keep our marriage as the final priority, and all parties agreed to proceed with full consent. I initially created this account to explore polyamory and open marriage subreddits. Any negative emotions I was experiencing, I interpreted as jealousy, which I needed to work through. And I started seeing a therapist with a specific goal of processing those feelings to allow my wife, whom I implicitly trusted, the freedom I felt she deserved. On multiple occasions, I even apologized to both of them for taking longer to get comfortable with the arrangement than I originally anticipated. I didn't need to do any of this for long because my rapidly developing suspicions that something was deeply wrong proved to be correct. After enough violations of our rules in a short period of time, coercing me into allowing her to push those boundaries further and faster than she knew I was comfortable with, and general sketchy and dishonest behavior, I couldn't ignore my suspicions anymore and looked through her phone one night while she was asleep. I felt genuinely awful violating her privacy like that, despite one of the ground rules of the arrangement being completely open communication, including the option to review each other's digital communication, which we both knew I never actually had any intention of doing. I found a staggering amount of unequivocal evidence that the two of them had been having an affair for an indeterminate amount of time, but definitely much longer than our open experiment. It appears they actually came up with the idea together in order to spend additional time together on top of what they were already doing behind my back. During the time I did know about, they were meeting far more often than I knew, having her girlfriend park down the street and sneak through the backyard to avoid triggering our security system so they could spend nights together while I was out of town or working an overnight shift, lying about having to stay late at work in order to spend time together, as well as having frequent, intimate contact in their workplace during work hours. They were also intimate in our bed, didn't even change the sheets afterwards sometimes, which was a boundary that my wife herself had proposed we keep as something for only the two of us. Aside from crossing numerous physical boundaries and lying about the timeline, there were also messages in which they were making long-term plans for the next 2 years, when my new job would frequently pull me away from home to essentially live together in our house for a significant portion of the year, using my increased income to fund things they wanted to do together. Even more shocking was a clear pattern that showed my wife to be the primary instigator and aggressor in their relationship. Several times, her girlfriend showed some degree of hesitancy, to which my wife would explain to her how she would fix this for them, and that all she had to do was keep me happy enough to remain oblivious, and very soon they would have essentially free rein to have a life together. The texts I was reading sounded like some evil sociopath I had never met, especially not the love of my life to whom I have devoted 15 years. When I confronted my wife about this yesterday, she claimed to have no idea what I was talking about. Even when presented with screenshots of her own words, she continued to try denying that she was clearly having a prolonged affair that she planned to continue and was going to use me for financial security while living a double life with her girlfriend. After hours of discussion, she finally admitted to everything. Obviously, I am completely lost right now. I have never made a single decision in my adult life that did not include thinking of us as a single unit, always working towards a shared goal that we were so close to achieving. I feel like I don't even know who this person is, and we have been together for over half of our lives. Now that she has been caught, she claims that she has broken off her relationship with her girlfriend and is willing to do anything it takes to rebuild trust between us. To me, this seems impossible. Due to the nature of their jobs, she and the person she was cheating on me with will see each other on nearly a daily basis over the next 2 years, which will include multiple mandatory overnight stays together and the potential to be assigned night shifts alone together for up to a month at a time. They have already cheated together while at work on multiple occasions, and my wife would text her afterward about how she thought it was extra hot. Even if I reach a place where I want to try to fix things, in my mind, there is no way that can happen while the two of them are still seeing each other on a daily basis. Leaving her current job essentially ends her career, leaving her with 6-figure debt and no way to pay them off. She is trying to come up with some system of accountability that will make it possible to trust that she isn't continuing her affair at work. But I cannot think of anything that would possibly give me the level of reassurance I would need, due to the extreme and complicated measures she has already used in the past to deceive me, and her clear ability to look me in the eye and lie in a way that made me believe her. So, I am nearly certain we need to get a divorce. I wish I could say I was 100% certain, but I don't think my brain is capable of imagining a future without us being together. Despite knowing we need to split up, the nature of her affair presents additional complications. Her family is extremely religious, and there's a chance they would disown her due to her affair being with a woman. Her family also has seen the levels of love and support I've given over the years and thinks of me as a son. I'm probably closer to her parents than I am to my own. Additionally, her workplace actions could either result in significant setbacks or termination, which would leave her with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt with a much more limited ability to ever get it paid off. Somehow, despite everything she has done, I do not want to burn her personal life, family life, and career completely to the ground. So I am currently keeping it a secret from almost everyone else in our lives until we come up with an acceptable cover story for why this blissfully happy and successful couple suddenly got a divorce when we were on the verge of enjoying everything we had worked our whole lives to achieve. I feel like an idiot. I feel alone. And an anonymous wall of text on a subreddit is one of my only outlets to process the most painful experience of my life. OP, here are my thoughts on the situation. You already know this, but your wife is selfish. She is going to push for reconciliation, but has no idea what that entails. Apply the protocol, divorce her, and focus on moving on with your life. Also, just because she cheated on you with a woman rather than a man does not make it any better. I wish you the best of luck, OP. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's stories. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care, everyone.